Good morning. This is Danielle Beach from Boila, and today we're talking about Daca. We're talking about this topic because a new case came out from the Supreme Court a couple days ago, and it was really a conglomeration of three cases that were combined: Trump v. NAACP, and then the Regents of California, of University of California, and then also a Wolf v. Vidal case, which is from New York. So these three cases were combined, and fortunately, the Supreme Court found that the potential hardship to Dreamers could not be ignored. So in this case, they took a very interesting approach, an approach that has worked in Board v. Brown. And they looked at the education system of California and Nevada, and they basically showed that these Dreamers, which are over 630,000 people, are currently very vital members of society. And that it was a moral imperative that these people were needed for national necessity. Now, why is that the approach rather than the approach saying that, okay, the Department of Homeland Security tried to get rid of this program that has been existing since 2012 that Obama instituted, and these three cases started coming up around 2017, so this has been in the works for a while, but only now decided. So this case doesn't solve all the problems. When DACA came out, which is Deferred Action Childhood Arrivals, which is basically for children who were under 16 when they arrived here in the United States, who had been here since 2007, a certain date in June, and also were furthering their education and working. Now, 45% of DACA people are pursuing further education. They now have children, and DACA covered them till they were age 31. So these DACA arrivals, often people who arrived here at the age of 2 or 3, not of their own volition, but through their parents bringing them, are called Dreamers because they don't know anything else. All they know is the U.S. All they have lived is the U.S. They now have often married to U.S. citizen spouses. They often have U.S. citizen children. So all these people would face huge detrimental effects. And not only that, but they are contributing members of the economy. They are paying taxes. They are paying their Social Security. They have jobs in healthcare. They're helping with COVID. They're nurses. They're all kinds of professions that they are doing, and that without them, including in the regions of California, University of California, where they are actually in the university system, not only as students, but sometimes as employees, they are doing so much to contribute to society and U.S. that if you took them away, you wouldn't be able to replace those people. It would be very costly to the economy to have to replace those people. In fact, what it showed was that there would be a 6.3 million cost to replace these people. And using economy and the terrible effects and hardships to the Dreamers, they were able to get a 5-4 decision at the Supreme Court. Surprisingly, Chief Justice Roberts led this decision, wrote the opinion, and was supported by his colleagues in a narrow decision. Now, what does this do and what doesn't it do? First of all, it doesn't change the fact that all DACA people get is a work authority. They do not get a pathway or a road to a green card. That's why, even though they're married to U.S. citizens, they are not going to necessarily be eligible to get a green card. Now, we had a very interesting case recently where a person had actually gotten the green card, and then they rescinded the green card, even though his parents were U.S. citizens, because they said that he was not eligible because he was not in status and he was an adult now, and therefore he didn't qualify for their family petition because he had been in Daca. We wrote a very detailed appeal on this, and we were able to prevail. The Department of Homeland Security sent just this month notice that they were rescinding the revocation of the green card, which is great because it means he gets to keep his green card. And he was, by the way, also in the military. Now, so these are people who have known nothing else. They've been great contributors. They are called dreamers for a reason because they have, with this work permit, been offered a dream of a better future than they would have had otherwise. And they have not lived other places. They've only lived in the US. They cannot travel out of the US. They cannot get green cards. So they're very limited, but they can work, and work they have. So this is the basis of that Supreme Court case. Now, it seems as though from the statistics they show that 73% of Daca grantees happen to also be married to U.S. citizens or have a child or a sibling who's a U.S. citizen. So you've got a lot of family ties here. Now, what's going to happen next? This was always a program that by executive order Obama had instituted in 2012, and it was always going to be a problem because we didn't know if it was going to disappear or what was going to happen to it. Now that this protects the rights of those who are DACA recipients, it does not allow new people to apply for DACA, and the date of renewal is always was 2007. So this does not help people who have come and could now be eligible. So this is a perfect opportunity for Congress to come up with a new solution, a solution that will create a new plan that will actually be a pathway possibly to a green card and eventually citizenship for these well-deserving dreamers. Now, we are going to get to your questions because there's not a lot more I can say about this right now because it's now up to Congress. But that's what the case says, basically. So let's see what your questions are. Okay. Just 1 second. While I'm trying to look at your questions, I also wanted to say that there's been several other Supreme Court cases that have come out. One came out 2 days ago, which is quite interesting. It relates to whether people coming into the U.S. who have been refused a credible fear are going to be allowed to apply for federal benefits. In other words, to appeal their decision to the appeal board. And there's some other cases I do want to talk about. Next Friday is 4th of July vacation time. I may do one that day. If I do, be sure to be signed up because you'll get an alert. It'll probably be on something that has come out recently. And then I'd like to hear from you if there are other topics you'd like to hear. I thought about doing one about motions to reopen with change country conditions for people who are final orders. I've also thought about doing one about citizenship because that's a big topic now until the elections and what has changed at immigration regards to citizenship. But I want to hear from you and see which topic you'd prefer. Okay, so let's get to your questions. So how can someone become a U.S. citizen if under DACA? Well, you can't. You can't apply for a green card. You can't get a travel document. You can't do any of those things So that is the problem with that. Does this Supreme Court decision allow for new Daca beneficiaries? No, it doesn't. It only affects those who are currently in the program. And since this is a topic that we don't know a whole lot more about, if you have other questions that you think of, I'm happy to answer them. And let me see if there's any more questions. Okay, I think this is one topic where we don't have nearly as many questions as usual. And I think it's because it's, again, so new. So thank you for listening today. And okay, one more question here. Using the case you referred to, if married to a U.S. citizen, can a Daca recipient naturalize? So a Daca recipient can naturalize if they are married to a U.S. citizen, providing that they had entered legally. If they didn't enter legally, then they're going to not be considered as having entered legally, which is one of the requirements for being able to adjust. So they would have to go a different route. They would have to leave the country, do a 601A, and then come back with a green card. So DACA is actually not going to help them, except it will have given them a work permit, but it's not going to put you back in status. That's the thing to remember about DACA. Really, when it came out, I thought, oh my goodness, this is not that much help. But yes, it is, because it's given people work and permission to work and come out of the shadows, but it does not make you legal. So just because you're a DACA recipient doesn't make you legal. And that's, I'm sorry to say, is the case. So I have a question here from Cyril. I'm not a DACA recipient, but I don't see the rest of the question. So if you could say what the rest of your question is, I'll be happy to answer it. Does this process apply to me if I'm currently in removal proceedings and have a final order or a voluntary departure order? No. I mean, you might be able to still apply for, if you applied for DACA and you were a DACA recipient, under Obama, there was clear procedural instructions that those people were not to be deported. They were considered sort of a priority. Now that isn't very clear anymore, and there's been a lot of people who actually have been picked up who are DACA recipients. And the only thing that protects them is that this tends to make news. Newspapers tend, especially if the person's doing good things and has been active in the community and has a family. So they're still a little bit more reluctant to deport and make a show of deporting DACA recipients. But yes, they're subject to, final orders are a priority. So if they're final order, they're going to be shipped out under the current procedural rules that we've received. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for supporting us. And if you like this, please do share it. Please do give it a thumbs up. And I look forward to talking to you probably next Friday at 10, but from my home. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, one more question. Never mind. Let's go.